Hello and welcome to Doing Business with Love. We are continuing on the love revolution in business. I'm your hostess with Moses, Mila Herenda, and you know it by now. I'm featuring all kinds of beautiful, beautiful entrepreneurs that embody doing business with love. And I want to thank you for joining us today. And today I have a very special guest, Pamela Busby, and she is the creator of the Divine Soul Center and instructor at the Lightworkers Institute. She is a powerful, powerful healer, and she teaches spiritual communication and healing techniques, universal laws, and her unique style of Akashic Records reading called Parable Scans. And she's just amazing. Her mission is to empower lightworkers to heal and share their gifts with the world and make it a way of life. And the other thing that you need to know about Pamela is that she's a little bit of a tarot deck hoarder and lover. And welcome, just a tiny bit. Yes. So if you love cards, you're in the right spot for us here today. And thank you for joining me, Pamela. I am so excited to interview you today.
Well, thank you for having me, Mila. I'm glad to be here.
So let's dive right in. The first thing I want to ask you is, because your mission is to empower light workers, can we maybe just define what a light worker is? Because there may be some people watching that maybe are a light worker and they don't actually understand that they are yet.
Okay. Well, a light worker is someone who feels or even knows that they have a mission on this earth that's so much more than what they're living. Mm-hmm. Their drive to help others in a big way just pours out of them, and they don't always understand it. Another thing, too, is feeling other people's emotions. Mm-hmm. One of the biggest signs of a light worker is being empathic, feeling other people's emotions.
Yeah, I do. I totally hear you there. So, there you go. And it's really when you're waking up to becoming that light worker, and it's almost one of those feelings of, I know I'm meant to do more, but where do I start? Right?
Exactly, which is where I come into the picture.
Yeah. Yeah. First question that I've been asking everybody is, how do you infuse love into your business?
Well, I'm a firm believer in understanding that what brought you to your point in life are based on your choices. And when you understand that you can be self-aware, but not self-judging, you can have more compassion on yourself. And I think I embody that, helping other people see it in themselves as well as others.
Well, often we are our nastiest conversation to ourselves. Like, we would never, ever, ever say what we say to ourselves to our best friend or our partner or
exactly
like that. But we're so tough on ourselves, and showing that compassion and teaching others how to do that, that is definitely doing business from a place of love.
Yes.
So why and how did you start your business, your current business?
My current business. Well,
I'm sorry to interrupt. I ask you and then I interrupt. But Pamela used to be an insurance broker. So this may be a little bit of a story for some of you watching that are in the 9-to-5 or whatever. And let's talk about that, how you knew that it was time to move in, and then you moved into this light worker realm.
Well, it's funny because I didn't know. I was in insurance for 25 years, and I was about to buy this $1.5 million agency when my world collapsed. And it was interesting because my identity was really tied up in that whole corporate thing. That was my identity, being an insurance agent, and how I presented myself to the world. So when my world collapsed, I had to find out who I was. and connecting and with my soul essence, with my divine center, really brought me to a very, very different place. It has been a challenge, as you know, for me to move from the corporate mentality to a way of life that I'm now embracing and absolutely loving. Absolutely.
Yeah, it really is tough to move away from that 9 to 5 mentality, because what we do as coaches and or instructor or mentors or whatever you want to insert title is that a lot of times people try to fill their schedule like a 40-hour work week, but you don't actually have to do that.
I learned that, and you watched me go through the whole process. You even pointed it out to me a couple of major times as a brick over the head, and I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, there you go.
I feel like I've finally been able to move past that and enjoy the freedom that this lifestyle has to offer.
Yeah, totally. And that's the thing. So if you're in that kind of corporate mentality, it's just about really opening up a little bit to the new possibilities that are there. And really, like, if you know deep within your heart that you're meant to do more, you are meant to do more.
Absolutely. I fully agree, especially if you have that deep driving need to serve others, to be helpful to others.
This has been a running theme in these interviews, that it's like it starts from within, and you just can't stop it. You can deny it for like even sometimes years, decades, right? You can deny it for so long, but at some point you just say, no, I've got to follow this dream. I've got to follow my heart. I've got to do what's right for me. And the universe will actually conspire in your favor, even if it doesn't feel like it at the time, so that you do follow your passion.
Absolutely.
And live your purpose. And, that's how it goes.
The moment you choose to step forward, the universe steps forward as much as you do.
It sure does. So how has following your intuition in business helped or hindered you?
Oh, it has changed everything. Absolutely everything. When I learned that what makes me feel good is listening to the guidance that I receive, the feel-good space brings more feel-good space. And I'm serious.
Yes, I know. Yeah.
And the more we follow this, the more it breeds it, and the more it just continues to snowball until you found that you've created the life that you love, using your intuition because you're following your bliss, creating more bliss.
Oh, I love that. Following your bliss. That's nice. It does not sound good, just
feels good.
Your bliss,
it's amazing.
Right? Well, I preach it. You know this. Pamela and I know each other quite well. So, but I always say, if somebody wants to know what to market next or what to do next, well, you follow where your bliss is, or your joy, or what makes you happy, or what really lights you up. Because if you don't do that, then it's probably not going to sell, or there's going to be some sort of roadblock or challenges. And when you really follow your bliss, as you put it, that's when things like the universe conspires in your favor and lays out the path so wonderfully for you.
What's interesting too is the actual frequency of joy is very, very creative energy.
Yes.
So when you create from that feeling of joy, it carries through way easier than the frequency of obligation or resentment.
Mm-hmm. Well, Pamela, I want to bring this up. I didn't have this planned, but let's talk about vibration and frequency. Pamela actually ran a course, me and Pamela and I, we ran a course, Upgrade Your Frequency, and it's all about upgrading your frequency so that you can attract more things, right? That you desire, to attract your desires, to get on that radio frequency, so to speak.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
To attract those things. So when we're at maybe we're not feeling 100% or something, you're going to attract more lower vibrational things. And if you are on a higher joy frequency, you're going to attract those as well.
Yep. And sometimes it's as simple as getting into the frame of mind that you want to be in and following the inspired action from that perspective rather than the lower vibration. Because when you follow the inspiration of the lower vibration, it's only going to bring you more lower vibrational stuff.
Yeah. That's also why I believe that the people you hang out with is extremely, extremely important. If you're hanging around with negative Nellies all the time, then you're going to have a lower frequency.
Especially the people that are gossiping around town, talking about this person doing that person and solving all the world's problems in their own way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about a couple of tips to raise our frequency.
Oh, well, the first thing that I would recommend is notice the feeling that you're feeling.
That's huge.
Yes, because your feelings are actually based on the thoughts that you're having in the moment. So one actually obvious way, but you wouldn't think it would make that much of a difference, is noticing what thought is causing the emotion. Change your thought and watch your emotion, thus the frequency, change. And that's something you can do instantly. But it does take practice checking where your emotions are.
Mm-hmm. Acknowledging that. That is actually one of my, I have a life mission book. And for me, my base is health and fitness. Yes.
Life mission?
Yes. Yay. I've got you well. Yeah. But my basis is health, fitness, then it's mindset and beliefs, and my next one is emotions. Mm-hmm. Because you have to control your mindset and beliefs because they're pre-programmed. And I really believe that, well, we're here on earth having a human experience, so we have to keep our body healthy. Mm-hmm. And health and fitness are different, right? Because you can be healthy, but you can't walk up a hill. Or you can be eating all vegan, raw, everything, and you could be totally weak, right? Or you can be eating healthy and be super strong and whatever. But the next thing that needs to be addressed is those emotions and keeping yourself balanced, right? What good is it about going through life and you're freaking out over somebody that cuts you off in traffic or something? If someone does that to me, I go, oh, dude, slow down. I send you a blessing. Like, you know, honestly, I couldn't care less. But then that's like part of the lifestyle I lead, that I don't have to be anywhere really in a big rush. Mm-hmm. And I don't have to travel in rush hour, and I don't have to do the 9 to 5 commute and all of those things.
So different.
And if I can do it, anybody can do it. So just.
Yeah. And again, from my background of being an insurance agent, and I owned my own agency for a while too, there were things you had to do, and it was part of the definition of what was expected. But once you can change the definition of what's expected, then your life can change accordingly too.
Nice. Very, very nice. So next question is, why is your work so important for entrepreneurs?
Well, I think one of the things that I work with heavily are different kinds of blocks. And as we grow from one level to another level, our ego, our personality wants to keep small. And that's true for any entrepreneur who's hoping to grow, but find themselves going backwards frequently. And when you understand the kind of blocks that are out there and realize that they show up every time you, or most every time you want to go to that new level, if you understand what they are and what they're trying to do, you can look at it a little bit differently and work through it from a different kind of process, knowing that you're in charge, not the blocks.
Yes. And I wanted to bring up with this as well that Pamela has like this amazing talent. Okay. So we can sit in a group. We co-ran this upgrade your frequency, and what happens is I was asking all the mindset and pattern questions, and people would get really deep with that, and then Pamela does the healing, and she literally like takes out what's blocking you, right? So it's
Yeah.
no effort on your part. You do have to find and realize and understand where it's coming from, but she
Right.
literally like, it's like in your auric field, and she picks it out and dispose of it for you, right? So
Right.
it's
Right.
totally
And
amazing, right?
I call that the stain remover tool, and it was
Yeah.
something that I was taught by my guides directly, and it's something that I teach in my Lightworker courses as well as to my one-on-ones, because when we're stuck, if we know how to remove those, then we can move forward on our own. So I totally believe in empowering the Lightworker rather than just handing the fish. I'd much rather teach them how to fish.
Exactly. It's so important that healers heal themselves.
Mm-hmm. And that's absolutely part of the Lightworker path. No
It
doubt
is
about it.
100%. I remember, I'm going to take over your interview here, and I'm going to tell everybody a little story. And this is before I was just waking up to my gifts. And I had a design company, and I was working at a apartment building. I got this huge contract to do over 800 renovation suites in all these different places. And I had to go and talk to this manager, and we went to go to the door. She was brand new. She didn't know. She had a shoe box full of keys. And we were at the door, and she was trying to open the door, and we had to go through all of these keys. And she asked me, "How did you sleep last night?" And I said, "Well, I had this really weird dream." And I said, I woke up, like I literally sat up, and I heard what could only be described as celestial.
Mm.
And I felt like something from my stomach, and I was like all weirded out about it. And she goes, "How did you sleep last night?" I go, "Well, I had this really weird dream." And she goes, "That wasn't your dream, that was your grandfather, and you're meant to be a worldwide healer." And I started crying, and it was my grandfather, and he had come to guide me. And she said, "But you're not ready yet. You have to heal yourself."
Mm-hmm.
As soon as she said that, the next key worked, and we went in and went to work. But I literally just had my employee was the one that was doing the work, because I was too busy crying, because I had so much emotion going on. And that's part of why you have to get your emotions under control.
Right. Totally divine intervention there. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And like, she was like a total psychic or whatever. And it was really weird, because she was gone like within 10 days. Like, I think I didn't even see her again. It was like, popped up and was gone, right? Like the next week it was like, "Oh, we have a new manager at this building." What? Right? So
There's no mistaking that kind of influence, that kind of intuitive, again, divine intervention. There can be no other explanation if you're serious.
yeah.
I mean, if you understand and allow for this to happen.
I was just waking up to that stuff. And sometimes I want to bring this up as well, is sometimes waking up to your gifts is often a very confusing time.
Exactly, because you feel all these things about wanting to do something, and you go and explore here, and then you go and explore here, and then you go and explore here, and what happens is you end up with not knowing what you're here to do. But that's actually another ego trick, if you will, because it keeps you delayed in actually doing your mission. It's one thing to understand what lights you up and then pursue it that way. Mm-hmm. You can do those things on the side, but when you go from one thing to another, it's great experience, but it's also an ego ploy to delay you taking action on your mission.
So that's a wonderful our ego is so tricky sometimes.
Mhm. It wants to keep us small and safe.
Yes, yes, indeed. I say that all the time. I always, here's a hot tip. I always tell my ego, I'm good. Go find me 3 ways to insert whatever it is. New ideas, make more money, whatever it is. I feel like
Mhm.
because your ego needs a job. I always say that your ego needs a job, and if it's not trying to keep you small, it needs something else to do. So you tell that little voice in your head to go do something else and find me 10 ways to make money or something else.
You're nicer than I am. Sometimes I'll say, ego, shut up. I'm doing this anyway.
No.
I'll do that sometimes
That
too.
works too. That works too. Whatever feels good for you.
But I like your way better. It's more productive and it's working with you instead.
I'm like all in on being efficient, right? So there you go. So
yeah, absolutely.
okay, what about a couple of tips for the emerging light worker or somebody that wants to maybe start a healing business or something? What's something that we can share on that aspect?
Okay. If you're wanting to really start a new business, there's a lot of things that you have to focus in on in particular. And this is one thing that I go through with the Lightworker course. It's deciding what kind of people you're actually drawn to, because the ones you connect with most are going to respond better to you. And then what method, because some people are very introverted, some people love groups, some people are natural teachers. What way works best for you? Because when you design it authentically for you, not following somebody else, then you can be true to you, which is going to make your light brighter because you're going to feel more confident.
Like, there is no cookie cutter mold, right? Like, that's why I wanted to do this whole series, is because the coaching industry, I don't want to knock it because it's done a lot of good.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, when it's like 10 days to make $10,000 or whatever it is, it's like, that may have worked for that person that designed that, but it may not work for the person that's taking it, because there's all of those different factors.
Exactly.
That come into play. Are you an introvert? Are you an extrovert? Are you both? Because there is both.
That'd be me.
Yeah, me too. There is usually a predominant side, right?
Yeah.
I am like, when I go out, I'm out, and I can be out on stage. I can do all of that stuff, right? I can do that and be that. But then after, I need 3 days recuperation where I don't want to talk to anybody.
Exactly. And that's actually one of the signs that I give about being a light worker. When you go out around people, you actually need to
Protect yourself.
recoup afterwards. Yeah.
Well, I find that I actually gave up going to big events.
Really?
I'll go to seminars and such like that, but I really have to prepare myself for that sort of thing, right? So I need to be well rested, very well hydrated before I go. I need to
well shielded.
well shielded, just
Grounded
and grounded. I have to spend time in nature first. Like, there's a preparation for me to go and see Tony Robbins live.
Absolutely. And that's part of the self-care. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I will not go to, like, let's say in Vancouver here, we have every year they do a fireworks festival. You wouldn't catch me there for $1 million. There's not a chance. There's way too many people, too many crazies. Everyone's drunk. I can't handle it. So it's like, no thanks, right? And then you can't get in there. There's no parking. The transit is awful. I was like, so I just avoid it like the plague. So I do feel like sometimes I miss out on some things, but I know myself, and I know that it wouldn't make me happy to go to that. sort of event anyways, right?
Especially to pay the price afterwards.
Yeah, and then after you get so, because here's something that is quite common in light workers is that we even go to a grocery store and we can feel somebody else's depression or pain or any of those things.
Yep. Yep.
And when you do, if you've not noticed this before, if you haven't practiced this, I just want to say, just reach out to that person and say hello or smile at them or anything, because those people have been brought in our path for a reason, because you never know whose day you're going to brighten up by just a smile.
And even acknowledging that they exist. Some people
Yeah, because sometimes they feel so alone and they're in such a depression and
lost.
And they're lost and they're whatever is going on in their life. And as light workers and healers, just a simple hello and maybe a mental blessing to them goes a long way.
Yeah, that may not be doing business with love, but that's living life with love.
Yeah, that's the truth. Yeah.
That sounds like you.
Yeah, well, I do that all the time. If I'm driving in my car, I see a fellow jogger. I'm all like, "Hey, God bless you. Have a great run," right? Like, you know, I send you love, right? Or even, you know, people I see walking, I send them love all the time and healing. If I see somebody maybe in a wheelchair or something, I send them a burst of. I send them a burst of my Reiki energy or whatever, right? Like anything, you know, because just being a good person is better than the alternative, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so let's wrap this up. How do we find you, Pamela? Where do we find you? Where do you hang out online?
Well, I do have a website called divinesoulcenter.com.
Nice.
And I also spend a lot of time on Facebook under Pamela Busby, where I often offer free things as well as tips and guides, and also, you know, where I let people know about what courses that I offer. And right now, my personal page is still where I hang out the most. I do have some groups. I do have some paid subscriptions and whatnot. But my primary page where I hang out is actually on my own page. It's nice to be able to be me.
Yeah, that's, you know, funny. I know we were just wrapping up, but this is the other thing is that light workers often don't want to tell everybody who they are. They're like in the spiritual closet.
Exactly. Not an easy place to be. But I think that has a lot to do with second guessing and the societal judgments that we think are there. But once we understand that there's actually a community and it helps build your confidence and your self-esteem, when you feel better about yourself, it doesn't really matter if people know what you do or not. They can like it or leave it, and that's okay. You won't take it personally anymore.
Yeah. I think there's more people that are woo-woo than we realize, right? And they're like in all different shapes and forms and ages and everything.
So surprising. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, my husband and I bought a piece of land a couple of years ago, and it turns out that one of the people that we bought it from was a medium too. It's like, really? Go figure.
Well, no wonder you were attracted to that spot. It has good energy. That's why. Yeah. Good energetic flow. So you can find Pamela at divinesoulcenter.com and Pamela Busby on Facebook, and she does fantastic card readings, and sometimes she does some energy work for us, and you can catch her live. She goes live quite frequently, and we'll see you around the internet. And thank you so, so much for joining me today. It's been such a pleasure, and I really think that this was a great value to our fellow light workers out there.
Well, thank you so much, Mila. It was wonderful to be here too.
Awesome. So bye, you guys. See you on the next video.